Attractive functional navigation graphics like buttons and navigation bars are important to a website because they act as the roadmap for your viewers to find their way around the site. I'd like to show you how to create a simple navigation bar using the shape tools and the type tools and alignment features. I've pulled my document window out into a floating window so that you can see what I'm doing better. And I'm going to start by creating some guides that will identify where I want to drag out a navigation bar. I'll go up to the application bar, which is part of the menu bar in a PC, and I'll click the View Extras menu, and I'll choose Show Rulers. My rulers appear in pixels, the horizontal ruler and the vertical ruler. If your rulers aren't in pixels, you can right-click on a PC or control-click on a Mac directly in one of the rulers and choose pixels from the pop-up menu. To create a horizontal guide, I'll click in the horizontal ruler and drag, and I'll release my guide here at the bottom of the logo. I can use the rulers to determine where to place guides. So if I know that I want to place a guide at the 100 pixel mark on the vertical ruler, I'll keep my eye over there as I drag down the next horizontal guide. I can also create a vertical guide. To do that, I'll click on the vertical ruler and I'll drag to the right. I'll leave this at about 300 on that horizontal ruler. Now I'm going to create a navigation bar in the area I've defined by the guides. To do that, I'll go down and select a geometric shape tool. I'll use the rounded rectangle tool. I prefer to use shape tools rather than create selections and fill them with pixels because the shape tools create shape layers, and shape layers are really easy to edit because they're vector-based. So as you'll see in a moment, it's easy to recolor a shape, and I can resize a shape without worrying about degrading the quality of the image. Now before I drag out a navigation bar with this tool, I want to go up to the View menu and make sure that Snap is checked and that Snap to Guides is checked as well. That will help me to draw this shape because the shape will automatically snap to the guides I've created. I'm going to go into the image and click and drag. And when I release my mouse, I've created a shape represented here in the Layers panel by this shape layer. The shape automatically fills with whatever color is in the foreground color box. Because this is a shape layer, it's easy to recolor as I said. I'll just double-click on the left thumbnail on the shape layer, the one with color in it, and that opens the color picker. With the color picker open, I can move my mouse anywhere over the image and click to sample a color from inside the image. And then I'll click OK. And that recolors the shape automatically. I can also change the size of this shape and be sure that I'm retaining image quality because this is a vector-based shape layer. To do that, I'll go up to the Edit menu and I'll choose Free Transform Path. And then I can move my mouse over any one of the borders of the shape and drag. I could make it really big, or I can make it smaller. And when I'm done, I'll go up to the Options bar and I'll click this check mark to commit that change. Notice that there's a light blue line around this shape. That's the vector path. If that's in the way, I can always make that disappear by going to the shape layer and clicking on the rightmost thumbnail. And when I do that, I lose the highlight on that thumbnail and the vector outline around the shape. Now I'm done with these guides. To remove a guide, I can select the Move tool and then go over the guide and drag it off of the canvas. Or if I want to get rid of all the guides, I'll go up to the View menu and I'll choose Clear Guides. Now I'd like to make some text buttons for this navigation bar. To do that, I'll select the horizontal type tool from the toolbox, and I'll go up to the Options bar. I've already set options here for type, the font style, the font size, the anti-aliasing, which determines how soft or smooth the edge of the type will be, and the color, which is taken from the foreground color box. To add type, I'll move into the image and I'll click, and then I'll start typing. Whenever I create or edit type, I need to commit the change. One way to do that is to go up to the Options bar and click the check mark right here. I'll add a few more text buttons. Mission, Resources, and Explorers. In the Layers panel, I can see that I've just created 4 new type layers. Type layers are special layers in Photoshop because they remain editable. I can change the appearance of type or its content. For example, let's say I want to change the Resources button to a Contact button. I'll just double-click on the T icon on the Resources layer to select that word, and I'll type Contact instead. And the new word has all the same type properties as the last. I'll click the check mark to commit that change. Another nice thing about type layers is that I can edit multiple layers at once. So let's say that I want all 4 layers of type to be a different color. I'll click on the topmost type layer, hold the Shift key and click on the bottommost type layer to select all 4. Then I'll go up to the Options bar and click in the Color field, and I could choose a color from the color picker that opens, or with the color picker open, my cursor changes to an eyedropper when I move over the image, and I can click on a color there to sample it, and click OK, and that automatically recolors all 4 type layers. I'm sure you've noticed that I wasn't very careful about where I typed these text buttons, and that's because I'm going to make use of the alignment features that are built into the Move tool to get them all lined up. I'll select the Move tool in the toolbox to display these icons for aligning and distributing layer content. I'd like to align these pieces of text by their tops, so with all 4 type layers still selected in the Layers panel, I'm going to click on the first of the alignment options. The next thing I'd like to do is distribute the 4 pieces of type so that there's the same amount of space between all of them. So with those 4 type layers still selected, I'll go to this icon which distributes the contents of the layers by their horizontal centers. Now I'd like to take all 4 of these text buttons and center them on the navigation bar. So back in the Layers panel, I'm going to add the Shape 1 layer, which is the layer that contains my navigation bar, to the selected layers by holding down the Command key on the Mac or the Control key on a PC and clicking on the Shape 1 layer. And in the Options bar, I'll click on the second icon, the Horizontal Center Alignment icon. I don't always have to use the alignment icons to move and align elements. I can just come into the image and click and drag, or I can use the arrow keys on my keyboard to nudge items into place. And if I hold down the Shift key as I use the arrow keys, these type layers will move in larger increments. I'm going to use another one of the Shape tools to create some small lines between these text buttons. In the toolbox, I'll choose the Line tool. And then I'll come into the navigation bar and I'll click and drag a line between the first 2 buttons. I wanted to show you how easy it is to duplicate an element like this line. In the Layers panel, I'll find my new shape layer that contains this line. I'll Control-click on that layer, that's right-click on a PC, and I'll choose Duplicate Layer. And I'll click OK. I'll do that again to create another duplicate layer. And then with one of those duplicates selected, I'll get my Move tool. I'm going to hold down the Shift key to constrain my movement, and I'll click and drag horizontally. And I'll set one of those bars right there, and then I'll click on the next duplicate layer and drag another one into place. So those are just some of the techniques for taking advantage of the alignment features in Photoshop, as well as the flexibility of shape layers and type layers to make a simple navigation bar.